From the 915 to H-Town, from the Panhandle Plains to the Valley, and everywhere in between, this is the 50/50 podcast, powered by National Scouting Report. Join me, Hector Cano, as we cover the Texas high school club and college soccer landscape, along with an inside look at the college soccer recruiting scene. The 50/50 podcast is a platform about the people and for the people who are dedicated to the beautiful game. Here we go. It's another edition of the 50/50 podcast, powered by our proud partners, National Scouting Report, NSR. You can find them on Twitter at Twitter X, I guess, at NSR Now, as well as on Instagram at NSR_NOW. You can also get more information on what they're about on their website at nsr-inc.com. My next guest, episode 104, she is Bridgett Rogers, the head women's soccer coach of the Lubbock Cooper Lady Pirates. Coach, thank you for being here. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I'm happy to be here.
I'm excited. I think we're well past I never know when to stop saying Happy New Year, right? When I come across somebody for the third, the fourth, some people say first 2 weeks in. So regardless, hope your holidays were well. Hope you had good holidays. And what's going on? Tell us how are things?
Things are good. Things are great. Just got back from Frisco this past Saturday. As you saw and a couple other Twitter accounts saw, we had a loaded schedule, but the girls prevailed. I mean, showed up and played harder than, I could have expected them to, and, really showed out. And so I think that's great looking into season. I'm an extremely proud coach. They left it all on the field, so, coming back, it is tough losing games, but at the end of the day, it's about growth during this time. And when it comes to district, that's when, those wins and losses really do matter.
Right. So the initial message, if you could share with us, Coach, I was going to jump into it, but I'd rather that they hear it from you. Tell us about that loaded slate that you had there in Frisco last week.
I emailed the tournament director, over summer, whenever I signed us up for the tournament. I said, hey, if we could get, some local teams, not necessarily West Texas teams that we'll see, later down the line, that'd be great. And so she's like, yeah, of course, I've got you. And so later, a couple months down the line, she posted the schedules, and I saw, okay.
She had you all right. She got you.
I was like, okay, I saw McKinney Boyd. I was like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
And we're away, next day, Wakeland. I was like, okay. And then it just kept going. And so, it was something definitely to prepare for the girls, as soon as we got the schedule, I kind of instilled in their minds like, hey, this is going to be a big weekend. We need all hands on deck. And, unfortunately, when it comes to tournament season, I don't know what it is with our luck. We always get injuries, during scrimmages and all that, just, injuries that are unforeseen. And so going into Frisco, we were down a couple starters, but, it gave our, players who, would come off the bench those opportunities to get those extra minutes in and really show us, what they can do for us this season. And so, it was tough going into that weekend. It was tough keeping the morale positive between the girls. It's never easy to, win or lose a game. But if you kind of if you look down the line, how much that's going to benefit us, it's kind of like, I looked at it as team bonding. I know a lot of programs can do, escape rooms or different types of team bonding to, problem solve and get those, teammates working together. And that's what I kind of saw Frisco as is, you can't be against each other this weekend, or you're just going to all crumble apart. So how are we going to figure out how to work together to succeed while we're there? How are we going to make sure that we don't give up and we don't concede, this many goals in a game? And so the girls, really came together more than I could have expected them to. And I think our team chemistry just grew immensely while being there. And so I couldn't be more proud of the girls, and they know that as well.
Now, would you say, because I was about to ask, what was the big takeaway from this past weekend? Was that it? What was the major takeaway that maybe you as coach learned about your team this weekend?
Our defensive efforts were incredible. We played the best defense I've seen these girls play in, the past couple of years. And then, with that defensive effort came, a lot of communication from our back line, a lot of communication when switching formations and trying to figure things out between the girls. And so I think really coming out of it, we know the standard that we can play and keep up with. So why not take that into, our upcoming tournament and district and all those games. So yeah.
Now the message leaving Frisco last weekend, right?
Mhm.
Kind of topsy-turvy, up and down, but obviously incredible competition. So what was the message leaving Frisco and returning back to Lubbock?
I mean, I told the girls, like, I preached the message. You can't give up. You can't give up in these games. I know you're tired, but you've got to prevail. You've got to work hard. When district comes, you're going to be playing all these different teams that can play a full, 80 minutes. And so you have to be that team as well. And the fact that they played each game every minute down to the wire is just, when we left, I, was like, hey, you made it through these games. Just wait till you get to these games down the line, and it's going to be night and day. You are going to succeed and be great. You're going to have communication skills moving forward. You're going to have those team efforts moving forward. It's just, I know it's hard now looking at it here and now, but down the line, it's going to reward us so much more together as a team, as a program, coaching wise, it's going to help, our bond together. It's just everything, even though it was losing games, it's just, there's so much more to it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And for sure. And I think the coaches that really get it, I think going in, the coaches get that, right? Understand what the what the assignment is, right?
Right.
It's more of getting the team, the players to understand,
Yeah.
especially when things don't quite necessarily go your way,
Right.
or if they're trying to get them to not put all that stock in wins and losses, especially this early, right? This early.
Exactly. And that's something we struggled with last year was, we had a tough season last year, and I really think it was because our team chemistry was just lacking. It was a lot of clicks, a lot of, I'm doing this on the field, not a lot of ownership. Like, I'm doing this, but she's not doing this. Like, I'm not owning my mistakes. And so, that's what I really wanted to work on with these girls this year. We've done a great amount of team bonding and community service. Went to a lot of college soccer games. I know UNC was here. I'm sure you saw, but half the girls came out to that game, and so I was like, it was during the fourth soccer period, and I was like, if y'all get your parents to get you out early, come on, let's go to the game, because I was already broadcasting, and so had all the girls in the stand. It was really awesome, and so the team has really come together this year, and it's looking bright down the line, and so we're really excited.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. That's good. That's great to hear too. You talk about last year and kind of the experiences learned. When you look at this year so early in the season, right? So early in the season, what are maybe, because obviously I think, as you've done this long enough to know that every year, every team kind of takes on its own identity, its own personality, right?
Right.
What would you say is in the early going you've identified as maybe some of the key differences from the lessons learned from last year on the field, off the field, from with last year's team to the team this year so far?
I mean, our identity is going to be workhorses. We're not going to be pushed off the ball. We're going to win every ball. We're going to be the strongest team on the field. And that's what I tell the girls every game. You're not going to get pushed off the ball this game. You better be the strongest kids on that field. The last couple of years, I had a really young team the past couple of years. They're all juniors and seniors now, but their freshman year, they went to the regional tournament. And I think that's, leading into, their sophomore years last year. It was kind of like, oh, well, we got to the regional tournament already, like,
Yeah, we get there. We go every year, right?
Right. So kind of let the gas off the pedal a little bit last year, and that's where we ran into trouble. And so going into this year, I feel like Lubbock Cooper is always the team with the target on their back. And so we have to always play our best game every game. And so that's just the mentality of going into these games. There's no easy team. We're going to play each team, as their, a Grapevine or Boyd or Wakeland,
Right. And some of that, a lot of that sounds like workhorses. That's West Texas soccer right there, right?
It is.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I'm from Fort Worth, so these West Texas kids are a different breed, a completely different breed. I mean, they are just, the grit is just wild. They are just strong, tough kids.
Yeah, awesome. Now, again, we talk about some of the key things in terms of your district, right? You play in a very competitive district,
Mhm.
finished 5th last year, but you go those lessons learned in terms of going back to a lot of the girls' freshman year, right? Regional tournament. How do you feel? What are your thoughts on just your district itself? You got you got Coronado in there, Lubbock, Monterey, you got Abilene Cooper in there, just to name a few. Um, what are your thoughts on just in your district, right? Because I often ask coaches this. It's like, hey, how do you describe the personality of your district?
Yeah. I mean, it's competitive. I mean, anybody I talk to, I say there's no easy team. Each team is going to have fight in them. They're not going to let off the gas at all. And that's, the Abilene High. I mean, Abilene High came in our districts last year and just completely dominated. Tiffany did a great job with that group. Monterey, Jared Loeffler over there is doing a tremendous job with, each group he gets in. He got talent that came in this year. And, Alistair Caldwell is extremely knowledgeable. He's at Coronado. I mean, he's a great coach. And it's just, there's a lot of good coaches in this district. I mean, Maddie, I actually played college soccer with her. She's at Abilene Wiley. And so she's done great things with her program. And so it's always hard going in because it's a prideful thing. It's like, okay, I want to be the best. I want my kids to be the best. But you get there and they want the same things. So it's one of those things each game is extremely competitive. Extremely competitive.
Yeah, I kind of feel very much an underrated district, and you hit on it, right? It's a lot of really strong coaches, great coaches, and you can see it how the development, the ascension of those programs in that district is pretty phenomenal to observe.
Oh, yeah. No, and it's done great things for Lubbock soccer. I mean, the fact that Monterey has such a successful team and Coronado, and then all the Abilenes, it's just, I mean, it's great for West Texas soccer.
Yeah, so the ascension of your program, right? Lubbock Cooper, the Lady Pirates, been around since, what is that, 2015, 16?
2015.
15? Yeah. What's your take on that when you observe from when you arrived to now? Obviously, topsy-turvy, ups and downs every season, right? But how do you explain that to others that think of Lubbock as, there's nothing out there, or, how do they develop these players and blah, blah, blah? How do you explain that to someone that doesn't really get it?
Well, I mean, initially, when I first got here, our teams were filled with kids who, played rec soccer but hadn't really touched a ball in a while. But now, as the years have gone on and soccer is built up, I mean, Texas Tech does a phenomenal job. They have their Red Raider Soccer Academy. And so starting them from youth up until the club age, they get them ready for soccer. And then after that, we do have Sting West Texas now. Jose, I can't remember his last name, but he's our new Sting Club director out here. He's doing a phenomenal job getting girls involved in ECNL. It seems like a small town out here, but it's actually growing a lot. This is the most club players I've ever had on a team. I've got an ECNL player. I've got an ECNL RL player. I've got girls who, play in different leagues that are still, a club level team, which before was not the case. If you would have talked to me, 4 years ago, I had no club players. It was just players that worked hard, and I taught them how to pass the ball and shoot the ball.
Awesome. No, that's great. So how many, I mean, well, no, I won't ask you that. But so one of the things that's pretty fascinating, and I know you have to get people that reach out and ask questions, right? It jumped out. It was on my radar probably, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago, right? Your facilities, your field, right? It's phenomenal. If you haven't had the chance, go out, look it up, go to their Twitter handle. Where can they find you again, Coach?
LCP Girls Soccer.
Say that again.
LCP Girls Soccer.
LCP Girls Soccer, or if not, Google Lubbock Cooper High School soccer field. It is like a legit field. So you get a lot of questions on that, or how do you, that's a pretty incredible resource to have and a great builder for your program. How do you?
It is. It being from Fort Worth, and I went to Keller, and so a lot of soccer schools in DFW, and we still practice on football fields. Then I come out to Lubbock, Texas, and I see that this little Lubbock Cooper school has this soccer field, an actual soccer field, not a football field. They don't have to share it. It's wild. And we're super fortunate to have it, but it's just, the facilities are just phenomenal. And, Friendship out here has a field as well. And so one school tends to do one thing, so does the other. So Friendship got themselves a soccer field. So Lubbock Cooper had to get us a soccer field as well. So
Yeah.
I'm not complaining because,
No.
planning practices, I've got a lot of friends in DFW who coach. And so they're having to go early mornings or late, 5 or 6 at night, to get their practice in because you're having to juggle it with other sports teams, the boys teams, all of that. And so, we're super, super, super fortunate. And, we've got locker rooms, we've got hospitality areas, our offices. It's just, and we host a lot of playoff games. So if y'all, when we get to it, want to come and play a playoff game at our facility, come on.
Awesome.
Y'all send me a deal. Let's get it set up.
Definitely go check it out. You'll enjoy it. It'll be fun. Now, I got to ask you, so you're proudly displaying your Texas Tech women's soccer alum jersey there in the background. So you're one of the things that jumped out on our radar here this past college soccer season was just like, oh my God, that is, it's Coach Rogers from Lubbock Cooper. She's doing the part of the play-by-play color commentary for the Texas Tech women's soccer broadcast, right? Pretty phenomenal stuff. Talk about that.
Just a phenomenal opportunity. My coach, Tom Stone, called me up 2 years ago. Bridgett, I've got a really cool opportunity. We need a play-by-play. We need a soccer analyst for the soccer games. Do you want to do it? And it's hard to tell Tom no. And so I was like, oh man, not knowing what I was really getting myself into, I was like, yeah, sure, of course. And then we got to it and I was like, oh man, this is actually, got to my first game. I was nervous, but Jeff Haxton is the guy who I do the broadcasting with. He's really great about, prompting, asking questions, walking us through the broadcast. But it's a super cool opportunity and I would be at the games regardless. So I was like, might as well just work them and call them since I'll already be there.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's a whole different aspect of the game because as a coach, you're kind of analyzing the game, internalizing those thoughts, what am I going to say to the kids at halftime, this and that. But in a play-by-play, you are dissecting the game second by second, minute by minute as it's going. And it's kind of challenged me as a coach almost to kind of be like, okay, so they're in transition right now. So what exactly are they trying to achieve while doing this? Or they're changing formation. They're moving this player here. And it's just, like I said, every second, every minute of the game, you have to be on and watching and making sure, you're not really missing a beat of the game because it's, it could pass by and you could just miss the moment.
Yeah. I liked it from the handful of games that I've called on the Texas high school soccer side. I've liked it because you're right. It does. You definitely evolve and it does challenge you as a coach because it's another layer of analysis, right? And I think one of the very first things I learned is it's like, dude, you don't have to speak every second, right? Let it breathe a little bit, right? Give it time. But also when you're doing the radio versus TV, totally different, right? Because with radio, you really have to paint that picture, right? So
exactly.
Now, have you done radio as well, or has it been?
No, I haven't done radio, but my Jeff, he does radio, and so he kind of talks about that and the differences and all of that.
Yeah, it's definitely different, but I love the radio guys. I grew up listening to a lot of the radio guys, and just how they paint the picture and how they can say 1,000 words without literally saying 1,000 words is pretty. Phenomenal. It's pretty. Phenomenal.
We somehow follow the game by just listening. It's just crazy.
Now, the other thing too, just the a lot of the analysis and just feedback and input that you were providing on Twitter in terms of beyond Texas Tech, but the college game itself, I thought was pretty phenomenal. I thought you did really great.
I love college soccer. Love college soccer.
Thoughts on? I know you watched it this past year. Thoughts on your takeaways? What did you notice? Just trends, big takeaways in terms of the NCAA tournament, the D1 women's soccer tournament.
I mean, first example, UNC getting kicked out first round. You really can't let your foot off the gas. Or it was UCLA, actually. No, excuse me.
Yeah. To Irvine. Yeah.
Whoa, wrong team because we played UNC. But UCLA won the national championship last year. Watched their game, got kicked out first round. I can't remember what school exactly it was right now, but I mean,
it was Irvine, UC Irvine again.
There we go.
Yeah,
and it was just. I mean, UC Irvine, in my opinion, just dominated the game. It looked like UCLA didn't even want to be there. And so it just shows, 1 year you could be phenomenal. And then the next, you kind of get that big head. And it's like,
right.
You do that. You can't do that in college soccer because, UC Irvine might not be as competitive and as talented as UCLA, but it's just about the team who's going to show up and play.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the team who's going to step up to the challenge and really put forth that effort. You could have all the talent, all the skill in the world, like UNC, for instance, and not make it to the national championship, not get to where you wanted to be. But huge fan, obviously, of Texas Tech soccer. Became a big fan of BYU, even though they went further than Tech.
Yeah.
Really want to see BYU in that final, but
Yeah. Well, first of all, congratulations to Tech on their historic season. By the way, oh my God, why am I drawing a blank? Who was it? Was it who? I'm drawing a blank on who BYU beat in that classic game. Who was that? In BYU, do you remember the comeback finish? I just completely drew a blank on that.
Yeah, no, you're testing me now.
Yeah, but a phenomenal game. I think the big thing that stood out was just how Florida State. Two things stood out to me. Just how Florida State just really separated themselves from everybody, right?
Yeah.
And there were a lot of great teams in this tournament, but Florida State was just different, very different.
They looked like a pro team. It didn't even look like a college soccer team.
Yeah. And then I think the other thing, excuse me, the other thing that stood out to me was, and I mentioned this on a couple of podcasts, a couple of recent episodes. I mentioned this was something that came back to me, not during the College Cup, but later. Was a couple of weeks ago. I'm sitting there, and I catch part of the NCAA volleyball championship, right? Texas Tech and Nebraska, and I'm watching that setting for a final, right? For a volleyball Final Four, and then for a volleyball national title game, and I'm thinking to myself, after seeing the women's D1 College Cup, the men's D1 College Cup a week later, particularly the men's, where it was very much empty.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm just thinking to myself, there's got to be a better way to do better for our sport at the college level, at the D1 all level.
Right.
But this is supposed to be the cream of the crop D1, and yet it's just, you look back at the women's side, and you had two of the different club organizations simultaneously having big events on that same weekend on opposite ends of the country.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff doesn't help,
No,
amongst other things. But, I looked at volleyball, their prime time Sunday afternoon, and it's a packed house. They're on ABC and really easy to find. And I just thought, I'm thinking to myself, it's like, we got to be able to do better in terms of college soccer.
Well, and it's just the soccer world in general. I mean, we have high school soccer that overlaps with ECNL and all of that. It's just like the soccer world is kind of falling behind in the trends, Club volleyball happens after high school volleyball season. Club basketball happens after high school basketball season. But soccer, goes all year long. But, there's got to be some way we can work with each other, and it seems like that's the issue when it comes to collegiate soccer as well, working with those big tournaments and all that. It's like a lack of organization, a lack of communication between organizations and all of that, Yeah. I saw Randy Waldrum actually tweeted that, saying it's ridiculous that they have these big events going on this weekend when it's, the final. And so,
and
I know you got to talk to him, so that's the only reason why I brought that up. I played for his son, Ben, in club. So.
Okay, Ben. Yeah. He's, Randy, it's pretty amazing how his stronghold, I joke about it, right? His stronghold, I joke about it with him. His stronghold on this podcast, I don't think we can go more than 2 episodes without his name coming up somehow, right? Whether it be me or our guest. So, which is awesome. I love Randy to death. He might have had the best 2023 of any coach at any level in this country, right? Just the incredible things he's doing, what he's built at Pitt, right? And just what he's turned the Nigerian women's national team into, in spite of all the, let's just call it what it is, all the BS that they've had to go through, right? Pretty phenomenal stuff. Very happy for him. Very proud of him.
Yeah, no, he's doing phenomenal things in the soccer world. So who knows what he's going to do next? I feel like he's like you. He's got a million things going on.
We, and back to the thing, and I mentioned this with a couple of other college coaches before on a previous episode, was I don't know, I had Brandon last episode. I had Brandon Milburn on here, director of strategic growth, and I forgot to ask him this, but one of the things that I found out about volleyball is I think it's AVCA, American Volleyball Coaches Association, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
They center their convention around the Final Four, the volleyball Final Four weekend,
Yeah.
right? So, which is just more, right? More
Mhm.
people, right? More people, more of the who's who and the coaches and everybody, just a bigger community event, right? So,
Yeah.
um, I think there's got to be a way that we can be better on that front, and it definitely shouldn't be limited to just D1 for sure.
No, no, yeah. Hint, hint, wink, wink, if anybody's listening.
Yeah.
Or
Now,
just
beyond that,
here.
beyond that, what are just any other thoughts in regard to the college game?
Uh,
Observations,
I
anything?
mean, NIL, transfer portal, I could go on and on and on about
Oh,
that,
yeah, yeah,
It's a whirlwind. I can't imagine being a college athlete right now. I mean, I'd love to be a college athlete for the NIL benefits,
right.
but I can't imagine being a college coach having to constantly, this is what I got from coaches whenever we sat down and interviewed with them before a game, is you're constantly having to recruit the players you already have
Yeah,
with
yeah,
the transfer portal. And so you could have a kid who's a senior that you're having to still recruit because the transfer portal, there's so many, they have this here, they have that there. Texas Tech lost Giselle Kozarski, who was a starter and played the entirety of every game, to Miami. And so it's just,
I saw
it could happen, So it's
it's
a
a local
world out
product,
there,
local product out of here in San Antonio, by the way. I
Oh,
might
is
have,
she?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, I
So
mean, she's talented, good for her. I can see her being a Miami gal, so.
yeah, yeah, that was a little bit of a surprise to me when I saw that. Right, I saw that
Yeah,
on social media. I was like, wow. It's like okay,
yeah,
but good for her. Good for her.
yeah.
The good thing is I know Tom's just reloading there.
Oh,
So
man, he's the best salesman I know, man.
yeah, he'll love
I
that. I'm
still
sure
love him, man, I still talk to him. It's just one of those things, it's for life with
yeah,
Tom, so.
right. Awesome. Great stuff. Now we transition here, Coach. Texas high school soccer. Your time, you were, Texas high school product, obviously,
Mhm.
club, club player as well. Out of was it Keller or Fort
Yeah,
Worth? Keller,
Kelly.
right? Keller, yeah. So originally from Keller, and now you decide to come over to the dark side and enter the coaching world, right? What's been your take? What's been your assessment on the Texas high school soccer scene? Was it what you expected? Nothing like what you expected? How do you assess that?
It's way different than how it was when I was in high school, and I'm not gonna tell you when that was because 'cause that'll really expose my age, so.
I think you're safe with me. I think we know who's the older one here.
High school, back in the day, I'm not that old, but back in the day, was really just for fun. It was not really an emphasis on, rankings. It wasn't an emphasis on all this social media. But, as times has gone on, it's just like, we have all these, huge Twitter accounts that are just, publicizing Texas high school soccer. And then Tasco, which has really built, a huge platform for high school soccer, and all these different organizations that are giving high school soccer a name for it. I saw in one of your other podcasts with another coach, like club coaches kind of laugh in high school soccer coaches' faces, like you don't really know much. But now that the times have gotten going, it's a lot of coaches who, have played collegiate ball, they've have
Yeah.
coaching licenses, they have experience, and it's just grown into something that's, actually beneficial to these athletes. And I just hope that, people start giving, high school teams, high school coaches some, a little more credibility in that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, just I'm thinking as you're saying that, I'm thinking about just some of the coaches in your own district, right? That you're
Mhm.
talking about. It's like
Oh, yeah.
it's a phenomenal list. Um, but yeah, I was having a conversation a couple of months back. I was having a conversation with another soccer coach in a different state, and I kind of took him through my daily schedule with the team.
Mhm.
Obviously, we hadn't had tryouts yet, but it just first of all, just the athletic period alone blew his mind, right? Just that part, right? But just when I broke down for him how much we spend with our athletes
Yeah.
around, over the course of the week, and then you multiply that by a month, and over the course of the school year,
Mhm.
it blew his mind. It blew his mind. So yeah, and I think that's one of the bigger pieces with high school coaches is for our college coaches out there listening is there should be no reason as you start to zero in on a recruit, right?
Mhm.
Some of those conversations, those maybe those phone calls, those emails that you need to be having, no better person than the high school coach who can vouch for that student athlete's character in terms of on the field, off the field, in the locker room, in the weight room, and especially in the classroom.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that's where, credibility comes in. We are, like you said, with them on a daily basis. I basically have 37 daughters. So I know what they're doing academically. I know how they're doing in the weight room, like you said. I know what they're eating or not eating for lunch. It's just like they're my kids. And so, like you said, what better person to ask than their high school coach who is with them all year long?
Yeah. So you talked about that. You broke some of it down, right? As we start to segue here out of the end of our first segment, Coach. Where do you see? So you talked about some of the changes since when you played, not so long ago, right? Not too long ago. When you played to now in terms of the high school game. But where do you kind of feel? Where do you feel like it's headed in maybe, I don't know, maybe the next 5 years or so?
I mean, I think it's going to get a bigger reputation than it does now. I mean, we have all this social media. We have all these podcasts now that are just channeling into all these high school programs and all these high school players. I mean, you have Kennedy Fuller at South Lake Carroll who, gives praises to her high school, even though she's not playing this year, like still gives praises to her high school because of what they've done for her. And so it's just, you're going to see, I think, this evolution of credibility being given to these schools and to these coaches and to, what we're really doing with these kids. We're not just teaching them to kick and chase a ball around, we're teaching them to play actual soccer. And so I think it's a credibility thing. I think, if it's, just credibility,
No, great. Yeah. And I agree, Kennedy Fuller, never heard of her. I have no idea who she is. Right.
I almost believed you for a second.
No, just kidding. Yeah, no, you're spot on. That's a great, perfect example, right?
And she probably is like, who's this crazy lady that knows my name and knows what I like post on Twitter and stuff. But
no, this just a phenomenal example of just, the example she's setting for the, future young ladies that are going to come behind her as well. So wishing her the absolute best for sure. All right. So that's going to do it for our first segment, Coach. Before we move on to our second segment, let us tell you about a couple of our good friends. First, our friends at Gipper. Gipper is the way schools, athletic departments, ADs, and coaches create world-class marketing content. Join over 3,000 coaches and ADs and programs and use Gipper to create high-quality visual branded graphics for your program. The best part, anyone can do it in seconds on any device without needing any design experience whatsoever. The best part is if you do have significant design experience in this world, it is designed specifically for you as well as what they call the power user. And just for being a listener of the 50/50 podcast, you can save money. Listeners of the 50/50 podcast receive 10% off any first-time Gipper purchase. All you have to do is visit gipper.com/partner/5050 to learn more. Again, that is gipper.com/partner. Let me say that again, gipper.com/partner/5050. Our other good friends at Global Scarves. Global Scarves is the top provider of custom knitted scarves, beanies, and other fan merchandise in the U.S. All merch is fully custom with free design experience and free shipping on all orders. Our good friends, both Kyle and Bill, they'll take care of you. Great stuff. You can reach out to them. You can contact them at info@globalscarves.com to get any free designs or quotes built out for your school, club, or maybe you want to have a supporters group, right? They'll do it all. They do it all. So free shipping. And again, you can contact them at info@globalscarves.com. Mention the podcast or give them the code #5050pod, and they'll be sure to take care of you. All right, Coach. It is the moment of truth. Are you ready?
Yep.
All right. Counterattack time. All right. So random questions, some soccer, some non-soccer. All of these, on the soccer front, they're all related as a coach, not as a player. Okay. So you got to put on your coaching hat here. So, All right. Any game day superstitions or rituals?
Rituals. I am known to have an energy drink in hand before a game, and I typically wear a hat because I have like a nervous tick during the games, or I grab my hat and mess with it. And so I have to have a hat on during games. I got to have something to mess with. If something's going wrong, I'm like, okay, let's figure this out. It's funny. I got an assistant coach, a new one last year, a third coach, and she came in, she goes, "Do you always do that with your hat?" And I'm like, what do you mean?
Do what? Do what?
She just brought it to light. I was like, man, I do that a lot, huh? I mean, not really any superstitions, but really just, I gotta have my energy drink. I've got to have my caffeine.
Right.
My girls will make fun of me. You know, they can tell when I have my energy drink before the game because I get a little goofy, get a little hyper, and then I have to have my hat.
Now, so a couple of things. Energy drink wise, what's the drink of choice? Is there a particular brand, flavor? Where do we, or do you just pick whatever's in sight? How does that work?
Man, recently it's called Uptime. And so it's like a natural caffeine. And so
Mhm.
I don't know if you've had one of those before, but recently I actually recent as in Frisco recent. So
Oh, wow. Yeah.
just started drinking those in Frisco, but typically it's like a C4 or a White Monster. Used to be
Okay.
Red Bull a few years ago, but now it's sugar. I'm old. Got to watch my
Yeah.
sugar level. So
Yeah. I'm a C4. I kind of became a C4 guy, but I'm a little bit of a um, monster guy. I like the
yeah,
orange and the gold one. I don't know if you've seen it. The gold,
I have seen the gold one. Yeah,
pine- something gold, something pineapple. I forget what it is.
right.
Big fan of that one. So
Well,
yeah.
my husband works for C4. I'll have to send you some.
Oh, really? Oh,
Oh yeah,
wow.
well, he works
Yeah.
from Dr. Pepper, and they are C4.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
yeah, that's why we've got a lot of C4 in our house. It's got to be
There
careful,
you go. Awesome. We got an ambassador there. There we go. All right.
right?
All right. Next one. Strangest thing in your refrigerator.
Oh, I don't know if it's strange or not, but there's just been a bottle of sunscreen sitting in the back of the fridge, and
Yeah, it's a little.
I think my husband put it in there thinking it keeps it, keeps it good. I'm like, well, I don't really wear sunscreen, so that's on you. And
Yeah.
it's been in there for like 2 years now.
Oh, wow.
And I'll open it. It's on the same level as our milk. And so every time I get the milk out, I just see the sunscreen in a bag. I'm like, okay, I just leave it. Like, I don't
So,
throw it away. I just leave it. So
so have you guys just decided the heck with it? We're just gonna see what happens. It's
I
become an
think
experiment.
internally, I've just been waiting to see if he does anything with it. Like, I wonder if he's ever going to notice that. I wonder if he's going to go get it now. He should be watching this, but
There you go.
I want to hear the fridge open in 5 minutes.
That might be a pretty strange one. That might. I don't know. I don't think anybody has unseated Coach G. Guerreri from A&M
Uh-huh.
when he was on here. He said he had dog food, right? Dog food in his fridge.
He's got that bougie dog food then.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
Yeah, that was just not what I was expecting to come from him. So yeah, so that might be the strange one. But all right, next one. Greatest sports movie.
Oh, can it be a TV show?
Sure.
Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso. Okay, yeah, there you go. That's a
Classic.
good
I
one.
mean,
Now, is that you're just kind of a hostage of the moment thing, you think, or you'll die on that hill? What do you think?
um,
It is pretty phenomenal, though. I think.
Kicking and Screaming is a pretty good one. Will Ferrell.
Yeah. All right, now what about worst sports movie ever?
Oh man. Oh, what is it? The Big Green. I don't know if that's the worst one, but the one with that big goalie.
Oh yeah. I didn't make it through the whole movie in that one. So yeah. So
I could barely remember the name, but
yeah. Okay. All right. Next one. So if not a coach and educator, you would be what?
realistically, I would love to work in. Well, I used to want to work in pro sports, but in my dreams, I'd love to own a dog farm. All the dogs that are in the pound, just take them to a dog farm. Y'all come live with me.
Oh, nice. Okay. I thought you were going to go like the breeder route, but you're saying just
No.
rescue everybody, right?
I have 3 rescues, so my girls know me as the person that picks up the dogs. So
What kind of dogs? What kind of breeds?
So one of them is like a border collie mix. I got her from the pound. I actually have always wanted a golden retriever, and on Facebook, like 6 years ago, this lady posted that a golden retriever mix got dumped at her house, and so have a little golden retriever, which I was like, I got that for free. I'm okay. I'm happy with that. And then my latest dog, which supposed to be just a foster, but she's still here. It's been a year. She's a she's a German Shepherd, and so we've got a lot of dog hair in the house.
Okay, nice. No, it's pretty awesome. All right, next one. Superpower question here. Would you rather be invisible or a mind reader?
Invisible, for sure.
Invisible? Okay.
Yeah, people leave me alone if I needed to be left alone.
I never thought about it like that. Yeah, that's a good point. Describe yourself as a player. Inevitably, every coach at some point finds himself talking about this to their team, to their players on some level, right?
Yeah,
How do
yeah.
you describe yourself?
I think I was a little overly competitive. I think I still am, but I mean, it comes with the game. It comes with playing soccer. Also was a super, I was a player that kind of struggled with my confidence. Made a mistake. I would make one mistake a game and kind of get in my head. And so that's something I've really taken to my girls. Like, hey, you make a mistake, get out of your head. There's no reason for it. Trust me.
Yeah.
I've been down that road and it does no good for you in your game. And so that's what I try to preach to my kids. It's, easier said than done, but competitive. Yeah, I get in my head. So
Now the confidence piece, I'm kind of curious. Do you find yourself as a coach now? Do you find yourself kind of gravitating towards that player, that type of player that you might be that might play for you when they have those moments? Do you naturally find yourself really like you can quickly identify that?
yep, I definitely do. And, I'll pull them off, pull them off on the sideline. Hey, there's no reason to get in your head. You've made a couple mistakes, but you just got to keep, you've got to keep playing. You've got to keep going. You've got to keep playing for your teammates. Not everybody has a perfect game. You can't expect that out of yourself. And that's what, what I did when I was younger. It's just I expected a perfect game out of myself after every game, and it was unrealistic. And so that's what I just oh, one of my players commenting.
Just a little pulling hair, huh?
So in my last ever college soccer game, we played Florida Gators. And someone sent a ball long. They had like one of the top forwards in the nation. And so we were in a foot race and she got past me. And so I was outside the 18 and I was like, I don't want her to have a one-on-one chance at goal. And I didn't pull her hair. That was a mistake.
Do we have
video
evidence? Do we have video proof?
I pulled her down by her shoulder outside the 18, got a yellow for it, didn't get a red, but it's pretty vicious, I will say. But I mean, it was one of those, I call it a smart foul when it comes to defense.
Tactical foul, professional foul, right? Is that what?
Oh yeah, exactly. That's what I like to tell my players, and so they like to come up with all these scenarios, like, oh, so if I do this, it's okay. No.
You'll have to give me. I know the opponent. You'll have to give me the year. I'll have to give Becky Burley a call.
Oh no. Yeah, that girl.
And shout out to the great Ken Murphy for joining us as well. Ken, thanks for joining us. Appreciate your support. All right, next one for you, Coach. You are appointed the soccer czar in America, right? You oversee everything. You're the shot caller. First change you'd make regarding soccer in America tomorrow. Agenda item number 1. What is it?
I mean, speaking for Texas specifically, the number of club teams we have, I think I love that it's getting more kids involved, but it's just kind of an outrageous amount of teams, I've got a lot of great players that don't play ECNL or ECNL-RL, and they're not, getting the looks that those teams do because it's, those coaches, go to those ECNL tournaments versus these other tournaments. And so kind of making it more, what's the word? Like back in the day, I played for Dallas Texans, and there was a Dallas Texans red and Dallas Texans white, and that was it. And they might have had a Dallas Texans in Central Texas and South Texas, or, but it's just, gotten so widespread and so populated in all these clubs that in some of these teams isn't really club soccer anymore. It's just, at what point do you say, okay, this is enough teams, like we've got to slow it down and kind of, make it more prestigious, make it more elite,
Okay.
And I could get a lot of hate on that, but that's just my personal opinion.
Okay. No. It does bring up a great point, right? Just in terms of just the layers in the bureaucracy, right? I mean, like anything, the layers in the bureaucracy and the politics, and just, I get it, on the club side, and that's just it, right? As much as we try to make it a point to also cover some club soccer, it's just harder to get your arms around, right?
Yeah.
It's just harder to get your arms around. So I can get that for sure. All right, next one. They are making a movie about the life of Bridgett Rogers. Who plays you?
Someone kind of loud and obnoxious and annoying. Emma Stone? Emma Stone kind of seems loud and crazy.
Oh, speaking of her, I just saw her in something recently that's on Showtime, I think it is. It is really weird. It is really weird. I got to look up what the name is, but
I know exactly what you're talking about though, because I saw an interview from like Variety or something, and they were just like cackling with the movie.
It was it's a series, right? It's a series.
Oh, okay.
I found myself like I don't know. I kind of found myself in a trance. Like I was like, I don't know, into episode 3, and I was like, first of all, I was like, I can't believe I'm watching this. And then somewhere in there, like tail end of episode 2, I was like, where is this going? Right. It was like there was, I don't know. I gotta look it up again. I forget what it's called, but it's something that just came out.
Okay.
It is really odd. It is really odd. So
It's
yeah.
just one of those you have to know how it ends then, because it's like, why is this happening? I have to know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I guess I don't know. It was kind of like looking inside of my own mind. It's just everywhere with no but not going anywhere at the same time.
Oh no, I don't know if I can handle that. I already got too much going on up here.
Exactly. Exactly. All right, next one. Current music and podcast playlist. What's in the rotation? What's in the go-to?
As far as podcasts, it's kind of like more YouTube, but I watch a lot of, I don't know if you probably don't know who it is. Her name's Bailey Sarian. She does a lot of just like murder mysteries and stuff like that. You know, I'm into all the crime and murder type things, and which is weird. That's how I pass my time and relax my mind. But
Yeah.
I saw somewhere saying that if you listen to true crime podcasts or watch like true crime videos, you're a psychopath. And I was like, oh, okay. Thanks.
Yeah, I've seen some of those that like hits a red flag. I was like,
yeah, it's a red flag. I'm like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And yet it is one of the most like in demand, most popular genres of all podcasts, right? It's just there's some pretty awesome stuff out there. There really is. It's pretty fascinating. So shout out to Mo Football for joining us as well. All right, next one. Did you cover music in there? Did you say any music?
I didn't. Okay,
I was like, wait a minute. I was like, okay, good deal. All right. How would you, I'm always fascinated by how coaches respond to this one. How would your players describe you?
Goofy but serious. I'm an easygoing coach until I'm not. You know, practice should always be fun, games should always be fun, but if you're not doing what's expected, then it's time to kind of lay the hammer down. But my girls know that. My girls know I don't really like repeating myself. If I give instruction and tell you to do, you know, a certain thing on the field or in a drill or something, and I don't like to repeat myself. But like I said, I tend to be on the goofier side as a coach, but my motto is never grow up. Always stay, youthful and always have fun with it. And so my girls might think I'm annoying sometimes, but it's fine. We have a great relationship. And, it's a great group of girls. And so it just makes it fun. It makes it more personable. And then, when it comes down, before practice, we all laugh and hang out. And then when it gets to practice, it's time to get serious. It's time to focus. It's time to, be all in.
Yeah. I don't think you're not doing your job if your players don't think you're annoying as a coach on some level at some point. Like it's a birthright, I think.
Right.
Yeah. No, I get the same thing with my girls, right? They're still, obviously I've been with them since August now, first year, kind of been through the whole process of getting to know each other. And I think they know, they definitely know when I'm not playing around. But I think the other piece too is that what they're learning about me is I'm very much a prankster, right? Very much a prankster. So you try to find the moments to keep it loose. Yeah. You just hope that it doesn't get away from you and it goes off the rails, right? So,
right. Exactly.
Yeah. So, all right, next one. All right, this is superpower number 2 question. All right, superpower question number 2. I think I already know where you're going to go with this, but I'll ask it anyway. Speak every language or talk to animals?
Oh, talk to animals for sure. Oh, for sure. I definitely would be talking to my dogs all day. I wouldn't even, hang out with anybody. I'd be like, sorry, I'm like actually hanging out with my dogs.
Yeah. There's an old, I forget whose quote it is, but right, it goes along the lines of the more I get to know people, the more I love my dog. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, 100%.
So true. There's
so much truth in that statement.
Yeah. All right. And our final question here is a little bit more of a reflective one. I'm going to put you on the spot as well, Coach, but this is the one I generally ask this one of college coaches, but or usually very early in the season. So I'll ask you. So the 2023-2024 Lubbock Cooper Lady Pirates soccer season will be a success if
if we keep, playing with each other and for each other, man, it's all about that team chemistry on the field. It's all about taking care of each other. And, if one person kind of drops off, that's, on the field, it's just going to take, ruin the whole, goal that we're trying to achieve. And so, my girls always know I preach a game of, making sure you take care of each other. You're a family. You got to take care of each other. You've got to uplift each other on the field. You can't get at your teammates when you're on the field, because guess what? Your teammate who may be struggling, that's playing, who may be making, bad pass in a row, they're already beating themselves up. So you've got to be that person on the field that uplifts them, that takes care of them.
Right.
If you have a teammate who's struggling positioning wise on the field, you can't yell at them. You can't get onto them, because guess what? That's just going to startle them even more. You've got to take care of them, guide them to where they need to be. And so that's just, if we continue to treat each other how we did in Frisco and grow with each other towards, going towards district, I think it's going to be an extremely successful season.
Awesome. Great stuff. That's it, Coach. That's going to do it. That's the end of segment 2. That's the end of Counterattack. And this has been fabulous. Have really appreciated you joining us. And as we wrap up here, as is customary, typically what we do here in stoppage time, right? We let shout outs, thank yous, any players, anybody who you'd also like to recognize, anything regarding the game that's on your mind, any messages that you want to share with other coaches that might be out there. The floor is yours.
First and foremost, big shout out to my assistant coaches, Kendall Apple, Ariel Dickerson. Season and soccer in itself, it wouldn't be the same without them. They're, the people that, are behind the scenes that are helping. Ariel's taking care of our JV. Kendall is my, offensive mindset for my varsity squad. So huge kudos to them. I'm so appreciative of them and for them and their help. Shout out to my girls. I love them to death. I treat them as my own kids. I've been with them for, some of them 4 years, 3 years now. And so big shout out to y'all. See y'all tomorrow for practice. Sienna, if you're watching, get ready for our podcast we actually have tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
Podcast number 2. She's nervous for that. So, and she hates attention. So Sienna, give your shout out. I hope you turn red. And really a note for all the coaches out there. I preach a big, taking care of your mental health. I think it's something that you should prioritize. I think you need to take care of yourselves during season, because season is long. Season gets tough. And, depending on how your season's going, it could, really hurt your mental health up and down. And so, prioritize your mental health, prioritize, time with your family, prioritize time at home, whatever you want to do that makes you happy outside of, coaching and soccer and all of that, because the grind gets hard. In my earlier years of coaching, I'd catch myself getting home from work and watching film from 5 o'clock till 9 o'clock at night, and it's just, you can't work yourself into the ground like that. You have to make sure you set boundaries for yourself. So that's my advice for all coaches out there, because I know I used to run myself into the ground all the time, but you've got to make sure you take care of yourself.
Yeah. And, and that's a perfect segue. Thank you for that, Coach. That's the perfect segue to my message. My final thoughts is, our first big weekend of tournaments and showcases in terms of Texas high school soccer is in the books. Congratulations to everybody that competed, right? Regardless of your score. Because I think we had a lot of winners from this past weekend that it didn't necessarily show on the scoreboard, but I think it's going to pay big dividends in a couple of months. Right. So, with that said, make sure you are recovering properly this week as we head into big tournament and weekend, tournament and showcase weekend number 2 this weekend. Some people will be competing really for the first time in terms of showcases or tournaments this weekend as well. So safe travels to everybody, all players, all coaches. Definitely tag us, definitely share what you're doing, right? Share what you're doing in terms of your tournaments, your showcases. Let us know what you're doing. Enjoy those moments, because the other piece about this is not only what you learn about each other on the field. You talked about it, right, Coach, in terms of just of being able to bond. It's where you grow as a team because of everything that you do off the field, right? So enjoy it. It's what makes Texas high school soccer special. And it's what makes it different. And so to our coaches everywhere, to our players everywhere, enjoy the moment, recover properly, safe travels wherever you're going, wherever you're competing this weekend. It's here, right? As we start getting closer after this next weekend, most schools will enter, especially the bigger districts, will definitely start to enter district play as well. So it's here. It'll be here before you know it in terms of the end of district play, right? And then the state playoffs. A couple of quick notes, a couple of quick episodes. We will have the next episode of Inside Texas High School Soccer, episode 3 of season 4 will be coming. Looking to hopefully make that announcement at the end or towards the latter half of this week, if not by the weekend. So be on the lookout for that, as we might have a couple of special guests for that one, as well as Coach Rafa and I, maybe a couple of other special guests join us as well. Again, that's episode 3, season 4, episode 3 of Inside Texas High School Soccer, which if you're not familiar with that, that's our spinoff series of the 50/50 podcast. And other than that, again, you can find us, go down, subscribe, go to where you can find all the audio podcasts, right, on all your major podcast platforms. Go on there, make sure you subscribe, and write us up a review if you can. That always helps with the algorithm. So we're on all major podcast platforms. And then, of course, on social media, you can find us on Twitter X, as I call it, right, at 50_50 pod. If you're watching this, you can see this at the top of the screen. But if you're hearing this, right, on Instagram at 50_50 podcast. And then, of course, on YouTube as well. So, Coach, any final plugs, thoughts, or what you can share with us in terms of social media, where they can find you?
We are on Twitter X, LCP Girls Soccer. Same thing with Instagram, LCP Girls Soccer. Ariel, my third assistant coach, lives tweets now. So if you want to, keep up with some of our games, she'll keep you updated. But mostly, thank you for having me on here. This is really awesome.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Have her tag us on your score updates. Everything. We'll make sure to share those. And also, like I said, we'll just wishing you the absolute best. Have been a fan of what you're doing there from afar for a little while now. So we appreciate you joining us as well. Keep up everything, keep up the great work, what you're doing in the high school world, in the college world as well, and being an ambassador of our sport. Keep up the great job. So we're lucky, and we're glad to have you here, Coach. Thank you.
Thank you. And hey, good luck to you this season, man.
Likewise. Absolutely. We're going to need it. Thank you. All right. So again, for our listeners, our supporters, thank you. We always say it, right? It never gets old, and it's our why, right? It's why we always share it. You are the reason why we do it. So thank you for our many listeners, our many supporters, being listened to now it was 48. Now it's 49 countries. We have no idea how that happened, but we're grateful for that. So it's because of you. So thank you. And until the next time, all right, you know what to do. Keep downloading and keep listening. You've been listening to the 50/50 podcast, powered by National Scouting Report. Help us continue to grow by liking, rating, and subscribing on all major podcast platforms. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at 50_50 pod, on Instagram at 50_50 podcast, as well as on YouTube at the 50_50 podcast. Until the next time, keep downloading